When DJing, not all tracks have nice, long intros to mix with. A lot of tracks actually have shorter intros of say 16 beats, 8 beats, or even 4 beats long, just like this one here. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can mix tracks like this with shorter intros so that it still sounds nice and smooth to the audience. Now, if we haven't met before, my name is Jack. I have been a professional international DJ for over 15 years, DJing in clubs, bars, boat parties, pool parties, and festivals all around the world. I have also been creating online DJ courses since 2018, and in that time, taught over 20,000 people how to DJ. Alright, so now for this first example, on the left hand side, we're going to get the track Teach Me How to Dougie by Cali Swag District, and on the right hand side, we're going to get the track Rude Boy by Rihanna. These are two very popular tracks that I actually use a lot when I DJ live in clubs and bars. And if you also want to know what other tracks that I use when I DJ live, I have actually done a top 100 track list of the tracks that I have used to DJ with over the last 15 years, and that have given me the best reactions from the crowd. To get a hold of that list, all you need to do is go to my website, offtherackjack.com, scroll down past the beginner DJ course and the DJ mentorship, and you will find a free email series. From here, all you need to do is enter your email, and I will send you 30 of my best beginner DJ tips and advice over 30 days. And as you can see here, as part of that 30-day sequence, on day 19, you get my all-time top 100 track list. This includes the top 100 tracks that I have used to DJ live with over the last 15 years. As well as that, as you can see, we have many other different tips that I will give you, such as the best way to use stems, mixing and key made simple, and how to get better crowd reactions. So if you want my all-time top 100 track list and 30 other beginner DJ tips and advice for free, head over to my website and just enter your email here, or click the link in the description of this video. Alright, now normally to get a perfectly timed mix, what we would do with these two tracks is first find where the chorus is on the track that we're mixing out of. So we're going to imagine the track Teach Me How to Dougie is playing to the audience first, and we're going to mix the track Rude Boy in next. So we need to find where the chorus is on the track Teach Me How to Dougie, which I believe is around this point here.
This beat was bubble gum, so I had to chew it. Teach me how to dougie, teach me how to dougie.
Alright, yeah, so that's the start of the chorus there. Let's just find the end of the chorus.
All my bitches love me. All my bitches love me. You ain't fucking with my dougie. The name is Young.
Alright, so just there is where the chorus ends and the next verse starts. This is generally the ideal point to be mixed out of a track, so what I'm going to do is just set a hot cue here as a visual marker just to show us this is the end of the chorus and the start of the next verse. I personally like to colour my exit points blue, so I'm going to change that hot cue to blue. Then I'm going to go over to beat jump, and then beat jump back 32 beats. Normally with this style of music, the choruses of the track are usually 32 beats long, so if I jump backwards to the left 32 beats, that should take us to the start of the chorus. What I'm going to do is set another hot cue here just to symbolise this is the start of the chorus, and let's just check that to make sure it is.
Teach me how to dougie, teach me how to dougie.
Yeah, perfect. Now what we're going to do is just highlight where the intro is on the track on the right hand side. So right at the very start of the track here is going to be the start of the intro. So I'm going to set a visual marker here as a hot cue, and then go to the end of the intro. Alright, which is just there. Let's wind that back, set another hot cue just here, and this highlights our intro. Now what you will find here is this intro is also 32 beats long. So if I go to beat jump and jump backwards 32 beats from this point, it should take us to the start of the track. Let's go back to hot cue. So from here, all I would need to do to get a perfectly timed transition with these two tracks is just make sure the intro overlaps over the top of the chorus. So I'm just going to quickly show you how that works. Now, I'm not going to do any mixing with the volume faders or the EQ dials. This is purely just a demonstration on timing. So just watch how these hot cues now line up.
This beat was bubble gum, so I had to chew it. Teach me how to dougie, teach me how to dougie. Teach me how to dougie, teach me how to dougie. All my bitches love me. All my bitches love me. All my bitches love me. You ain't fucking with my dougie. Teach me how to dougie, teach me how to dougie. Teach me how to dougie, teach me how to dougie. All my bitches love me. All my bitches love me. All my bitches love me. You ain't fucking with my dougie. Come here, rude boy, can you get it up?
So when it comes to timing, this is the ideal scenario. But this isn't always how it works out. This track on the right hand side is the intro version that is specifically made for DJing. You can get intro versions from DJ specific platforms such as Beatport, Beatsource, BPM Supreme, DJ City, and they'll have tracks specifically for DJing just like this one. But it's not always the case that we can get these tracks. Sometimes we might have the original versions of tracks that have shorter intros. So what I'm going to do now on the right hand side is just drag the original version of the track Rude Boy. And if we have a listen to the start of this track, you'll hear that it's only 16 beats long for the intro and not 32 beats. So now this means that if we were to press play on this track on the right hand side, at the start of the chorus of Teach Me How to Dougie, the tracks wouldn't time right. The vocals of the track Rude Boy would come in halfway through the chorus of Teach Me How to Dougie, and the timing just wouldn't sound right. So one option that we could do, which is our first option, we could wait 16 beats from the start of the chorus before we press play on the next track. That then should hopefully time right so that when the chorus ends on the track on the left hand side, the vocals of the next track begin, which would sound like this.
This beat was bubble gum, so I had to chew it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck. All my bitches love me, all my bitches love me, all my bitches love me. You ain't fucking with my dirty nigga. Come here, rude boy, can you get it up?
Alright, so that is one option there on how you can time the most two tracks. But for me, the problem with that is you don't have too long to mix the track and blend it in, especially if you're going to beat match the tracks manually. I do believe there's a better way and more creative way that you can mix these two tracks together even with this shorter 16-beat intro. And the first option is just to set a loop over that 16-beat intro. So from here now on the right hand side, what I can do is just change this loop value to 16, set that 16-beat loop, and what we effectively have now is a loop going continuously, so we can have an intro as long as we like. So as long as we have that loop highlighted, it's going to keep repeating itself and keep looping until we exit the loop. So what I'm going to do now is save that loop in the Hotcue bank, and we can loop that intro now twice. So now it makes up 32 beats, which would fit the length of the chorus on the other side. And then when we exit this loop, we know it's going to go into the vocals of the track. So that would sound like this.
This beat was bubble gum, so I had to chew it. Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck. All my bitches love me, all my bitches love me, all my bitches love me. You ain't fucking with my dirty. Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck. All my bitches love me, all my bitches love me, all my bitches love me. You ain't fucking with my dirty. Come here, rude boy, can you get it up? Come here, rude boy, is you big enough?
So with that option there of setting that loop, we have longer to mix with and we can do a longer, smoother blend with that track. By using the loop, we can effectively create an intro as long as we like, which gives us more time to do the transition and make it sound smoother to the audience. Now, it doesn't always go as smooth as that. Sometimes we might come into problems using loops, which is what I'm going to show you now and how to overcome that problem. So what we're going to do now is mix back. We're going to pretend that the track Rude Boy is playing to the audience. We're going to mix out of that track into the next track, which will be Teach Me How to Dougie. So we're just going to highlight where the chorus is on the track Rude Boy, which should be around here. So let's have a listen. Alright, so that's the start of the chorus. Let's find the end of the chorus. Alright, so there we have it, just into the next verse. So right here is the end of the chorus. I'm going to set a visual marker just here with the Hotcue, and then beat jump back 32 beats to the left hand side, which should take us to the start of the chorus. Set a Hotcue marker here, and again I'm just going to colour them blue just because I prefer blue as my exit points. So now these two Hotcues represent where the chorus is on this track. We want to be mixed out of this track just before Hotcue D before the next track's verse starts. So now with the track on the left hand side, Teach Me How to Dougie, the intro of this track is 16 beats long. So if you follow the principles of the last mix, what we need to do is set a 16-beat loop, and then we can let this run twice, and it will time well over the top of the other track's chorus. But have a listen to this. it actually has some vocals that start before the next phrase of the track. So have a listen again. Now that can throw the audience off, so that isn't a complete loop because the vocals start one beat before the actual next phrase of the track. So one way we can get around this is actually to reduce this loop down to just 8 beats. Now if we listen to this 8-beat loop, it sounds more like a complete loop. And we can use this ongoing and mix it over the top of other tracks and it'll still sound good to the audience. So what I'm going to do is save this 8-beat loop in the Hotcue bank. Now from here you can also add comments to these, so I also like to just put in the comments here 8, just so I know it's an 8-beat loop. I'm going to exit that loop, and also what I'm going to do is set a visual marker with a Hotcue just to symbolize where the actual verse starts. So I'm going to go to here in the track.
Baby like smooth. What? Can you teach me how to do it?
So it's at that point there where the verse starts. I'm going to wind it back and then just set a Hotcue marker here. This is so that when I'm using the loop, I know when the actual verse starts on the track and I can time that with the end of the chorus on the other track. Alright, let's show you how that works and give you an example.
Smooth. What? Can you teach me how to Dougie? You know why? Cause all the bitches love me.
Alright, so hopefully you can agree then that was a cleaner mix and we didn't let that vocal come in, but we still used the loop to create the intro and then exited the loop at the point where Hotcue B, just here, lined up with Hotcue D so it looked like this. And it's still timed right and perfect to the audience so that when the chorus ends on Rude Boy, the vocals and the verse started on the track Teach Me How to Dougie. Now this track doesn't just work with hip hop and R&B tracks, it also works with dance music as well. So let's just exit these two tracks on the DJ software and I'm going to drag a track on the right hand side called Rock This Party. Now if we were to have a listen to the intro of this track, you'll hear that it's only 8 beats long.
So clap, so clap, so clap, so clap.
So just after 8 beats there of drums, the vocals come in. So effectively the intro of this track that we can use to mix with is 8 beats long. So what we can do here is just set a loop on this track for 8 beats, save that in the Hotcue bank, add a comment saying 8 so we know it's 8 beats long. And we can keep looping this for as long as we like. And we can use it as an intro. Now when I DJ this track live, I personally don't like going into the vocals next. I find it's a little bit flat. So when I exit the loop, it sounds like this.
So clap, so clap, so clap, so clap.
I find it can go a little bit flat. So what I actually personally do with this track when I DJ live is I set a Hotcue 4 beats before the drums come in, which is just here.
Yeah.
Just at this point, Hotcue B, and it sounds like this. I just find it has a little bit more energy and keeps the momentum going on the dance floor when I DJ live. So that intro would sound like this. I'd use this part to mix in with. And then when I get to the end of the chorus of the other track, I press Hotcue B. Alright, now to show you a quick example, I get a track on the left hand side, I Know You Want Me by Pitbull, and this is exactly how I would use that technique. Alright, so for my last example, I'm going to show you an extreme example of how you can use a loop to mix a track in that has a very short intro. So let's get rid of these two tracks. And what I'm going to do is drag the track Single Ladies on the right hand side by Beyonce. Now, the start of this track sounds like this. So So it's a very quick intro of only 3 beats. So it's not even 4 beats of a full bar. It's only 3 beats long. So when I was first using this track and trying to work out how I could mix it, it was quite difficult and quite hard to come up with a way that sounded good when I DJ'd live. The first thing I did is I tried setting a 4-beat loop, but that sounded like this. Now that doesn't sound too bad, but the vocals will clash with another track's vocals. So from there then I tried doing a 2-beat loop, which sounded like this. Which I didn't quite like that skippy kick drum. It didn't sound very good when I used that 2-beat loop to mix. So what I actually did instead is actually created a 1-beat loop, which sounded like this. Now when you're hearing that loop by itself, it doesn't sound too great, but when you're mixing it with another track, it actually doesn't sound too bad. So from here now, I'm just going to set this loop in the Hotcue bank and save it, and I'm also going to set a Hotcue just as the phrase starts. Alright, so just there I've set Hotcue B at the start of the verse, and that's just to make sure my timing's right when I'm mixing out of the next track. So let's get a track up on the left hand side. I'm going to get the track Pondy Replay up, and the choruses on this track are already highlighted. So I'm just going to show you a quick example of how we can use a 1-beat loop to make sure our timing's right and make sure we can do a smooth sounding mix with a track that has such a short intro. Let's do it. Now all these tracks that I've given you examples of in this video, even though they do have really short intros, they do have some kind of beats at the start of the track to mix with. But if you want to learn how to mix tracks that don't have any intro at all, then you can check out this video here where I show you exactly that. This video shows you different ways that you can mix tracks together that have no intro. So if you enjoyed this video, check that video out as well. I'm sure you'll enjoy that one too and learn a lot from it. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in the future. Bye for now.